Hi everyone! Today we're going to look at a book that was sent to me by the publisher. It is part of a series called National Geographic Treasuries, and it is called Treasury of Greek Mythology. Classic stories of gods, goddesses, heroes, and monsters. Some of the material comes directly from classic works such as Homer's Odyssey. These are subdivided into chapters which focus on different groups of gods, heroes, or events. For example, there is a 2-page spread at the beginning of the book giving an overview of the subject matter and how this book fits into the larger picture. There are also notes at the bottom of each page that give more information about certain topics brought up in the myths, such as further reading or other media adaptations. And each entry has a small bibliography giving information on where that story came from. For example, Hercules. The reason for this is because the publisher would only allow me to use the promotional codes. If I limited the giveaway to U.S. residents, the contest is open to anyone who lives in the United States. You must send me your mailing address in a message within the platform, and it must be the only thing in the message. You have until Friday, August 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Central Time to enter. Only one entry per person. The winner will be announced in a video and contacted through the platform. If you do not respond to my notification in 24 hours, another winner will be chosen. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I will answer them. I apologize if this disappoints anyone, but it is out of my control. So if you live in the United States and would like to own a copy of this book, then please send me your mailing address in a message. Make sure it is only your address and nothing else. I don't want to receive any other information. Once the contest closes, I will use a random number generator to pick a winner and notify them through the platform. The winner will then have 24 hours to respond to my notification before another winner is chosen. The deadline to enter this contest will be Friday, August 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. There are also short bios of all the major figures mentioned in the myths at the back of the book, as well as a decently thorough index. For example, in the first section there is a chapter on the creation of the world, another one on the Titans, then one on the Gigantomachy, then the Theoe, then the birth of heroes, and so on. It really helps out. Also, please consider subscribing if you haven't already because there will be more videos like this one in the future. Thank you to everyone who has liked, subscribed, and commented. Your support is greatly appreciated. If you would like to support me, then links to my support page and merch store can be found in the description below. If you'd like to keep watching, then the next video I'd recommend is where I talked about 10 fascinating facts about Hades. You can find that video link below. And with that, I bid you farewell. All of the art in this book is original and done by an artist named Richard Anderson. This book is not for people who are well versed in mythology. It is for people who know little to nothing about Greek mythology and want a decent overview of the major myths. That being said, I think this book would be best suited for younger audiences. The language used throughout this book makes it easy for children to understand. Therefore, I believe that children would be the ones who would benefit the most from reading this book. It is a good introduction to mythology, but not a great resource for older audiences. If you're familiar with his work, then you will enjoy the artwork in this book. If you're not, then you might be slightly disappointed because the artwork does not do Greek mythology or its characters justice. Most of the time when I looked at these illustrations, my first thought was, why did you make them look like that? Zeus is supposed to have a beard and carry a lightning bolt. Why did you draw him as a baby instead? Why does Hades look like he's wearing makeup? Why does Medusa look like a gorgon? Instead of being beautiful like the myth says, why does Persephone look like she's constipated? Honestly, most of the artwork in this book is horrible. And that is a real shame. Because if this book was given to a child, they would get the wrong idea of what the gods and monsters were actually supposed to look like. They would probably think that Zeus looks like a baby, Hades looks like he has a unibrow and wears eyeliner, and Medusa was ugly. Overall, I rate the artwork in this book a 2 out of 10. And the last section ends with the return of Odysseus to Ithaca. So everything in this book up until the point where the Greek and Roman poets began writing their epics and tragedies. Other times it draws from various online sources such as theoi.com and Encyclopedia Myth. And those two websites are also listed as references at the end of the book. Now I've gone over this list and there aren't any factual errors. However, since it uses some less than reputable sources like theoi.com, which is riddled with spelling errors, I would advise taking any information found here and verifying it through another source, especially if you're doing research for something important. And if you stick around to the end, I'll tell you about how you can win a copy of this book for yourself. So let's start off with the basics. This is a large hardcover book coming in at 480 pages. It has full-color, glossy illustrations throughout, and it covers all of the classic stories, from Greek mythology from the creation of the world up until the return of Odysseus to Ithaca. As someone who has been immersed in mythology for almost 2 decades now, there isn't much in here that I haven't heard before. But I still enjoyed reading these retellings as they were very well written. The language was easy to read and flowed well and had all of the information I was looking for. So even though I'm not the target audience for this book, I think that people who are just getting into mythology or are younger would really enjoy reading this. Now, before we go any further, I need to mention that this is not an original work, but rather a compilation of myths taken from other sources. This book is divided into 3 sections. The first, Deathless Age, the Age of Heroes and the Trojan War and its aftermath. Since this book is a part of the National Geographic Treasury's series, it shares a lot of similarities with other books in that series. As far as artwork goes, it's pretty good. I have already mentioned the target audience for this book a few times, but let me say it again because it needs to be said, and now it is time for the giveaway. Unfortunately, I can only offer this to people in the United States. Here is a summary of the rules. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that thumbs up button.